Welcome back to Cyber Profits. Today, in our episode 9, we're going to have a very interesting topic, one that people all over the world are hearing in the ads, in the news, and everything that is about cybersecurity. That is a very important area. Why? Because everything that we're doing, especially we're working remotely, and more things are doing through the internet. And today, our guest is a special person that I met long time ago in Poland, whose name is Adrián Crespo. He's a security service manager in an interesting company called Capgemini. Maybe he will help us to know the pronunciation correctly of the company.
I thought that it was Capgemini because you know that it has like a it had a French pronunciation, but nowadays I think that most of the people call it by Capgemini.
Capgemini. Well, this is a very peculiar name. I have never heard it, but he's an expert in cybersecurity who has a lot of knowledge in these areas. He has worked for different companies as a cybersecurity expert, and well, he considers himself a hacker. But I also consider him. Many people is like, who do you consider a hacker? In my case, I really consider him as someone that a new surprise will come from it. And maybe JJ could ask us something interesting about what he thinks about this area, and let's continue with the parts.
Yeah, personally, I'm also a person who is highly interested in the topic of cybersecurity, and I have made some research on my own in a topic related with those. Yeah, so hopefully Adrian will bring us with real and cool topics today. So before we begin with the topics, I think I would like to hear something more about you, Adrian. Could you introduce yourself?
Well, yes, as Federico explained it, I'm at Capgemini as a cybersecurity manager, but my role is to provide a technical advice or support in most of the cybersecurity projects that we perform. And currently, the fields that I'm more involved in are the OT security or ICS cybersecurity. That you know that it is cybersecurity for industrial environments or operational environments. And but anyways, I help in also in IT environments. So I can say that I'm very transversal in many areas, and I thank you for the opportunity to be here and to talk with you. So you can ask me about anything, and I will try to answer as better as possible.
And for example, Adrian, how did you get started in cybersecurity? What's your motivation? Because let's say when you're in software development, you will go straight to other areas, and cybersecurity is not like one of the most popular in my experience.
I have a different opinion. I think that the hacking it's very close to the researching and yes, in the way that, for example, when you try to hack something, you do try to investigate how it works and to develop a new functionality, or maybe to change the purpose of the thing that you are analyzing. And that's part of the researching in for example, at an university, or maybe in a laboratory and so on. So I think that everything started when I was a child, and I tried to know about everything, and to break something, and to know about what is going under the hood in for many things. And for example, one of the projects that I was involved in the past was the development of a new operative system for mobile devices. It was Firefox OS at Mozilla, this is an example of something that was intended for development, but in my case, it helped me to learn something extra in about mobile devices, and I nowadays I'm using it in many projects and many areas. So I'm like a self-taught person, and I always wanted to be researching and to be playing with things.
Okay, so yeah, I remember myself when I was younger. I hacked one thing, and it was Windows XP password. I believe it was Windows Vista. Yeah, it wasn't secure enough. So I'm curious if you can share us what was the first thing you have hacked.
The first thing, I don't know, maybe a video game that it was the name is Ultima Online. That it was probably the first massive multiplayer role-playing game from the 90s, I think. Well, I don't know. Maybe that was the first approach, but it was very long time ago. So things have changed a lot since then.
What was, for example, the most important lesson that you learned when you hacked your first game?
The most important thing, probably that everything that you think that everything that you learn, probably it will be useful in the future. You don't know yet why or the objective of something, but be sure that everything that you learn, it will be useful in the future some way.
Okay, so I think that it's like started a big the culture of learning, which you have already introduced as being a self-taught person. So I'm interested, how broad does your cybersecurity interest come? Is it restricted mostly to software, or does it touch additional fields as well, like hardware?
Well, I'm a telecommunications engineer, so I can it's software, hardware, whatever you think. For example, my final degree at the university, it was about SDR, that it is like using antennas in your with your laptop and to generate and to receive signals. I mean, telecommunication signals, of course. And so you can try to hack anything that you want, and that's an example that you can do software, hardware, whatever you want.
And do you believe that let's say during the last year there has been an increment in cybercrimes, especially with the COVID and all these things that move us to work remotely?
Yes, of course. Yes. Surely, you saw that those cases about that when something wrong happened at hospitals and so on, and that was a concern that was anticipated even before of the coronavirus situation. So it's not a surprise that everything is changing faster because of the new situation. That's a really big concern, because you know that it affects to the health and the life of a lot of people. So I think that we are doing a great job at protecting somehow not only the market and the companies and the industry, but also we are helping. I think that we are helping and serving to the individual life of a lot of people. So I think that we can be proud of the job that we are doing, not only in Spain but around the world.
Okay, I think I got one more question about bigger companies. So personally, how do you think, are the big companies like Google or Facebook, or for example Zoom, which was supposed to be a huge topic about Zoom security in recent times, are those secure enough, or even exist something for a company to be secure enough, or this is a continuous process? How do you feel about it?
I think that we would like if we assure that the security can be accomplished in a 100%, because you know that evil people always have more resources and more time to spend than you, and the problem is that big companies like Facebook, Google, or whoever, they have other business, not only security, but they have their own business, and they have to take care about everything, and they cannot focus in one particular area like security, and it becomes really hard to follow or to be prepared against a threat. And the problem, and I think that at Capgemini we do that part by helping the companies, providing consultancy services, and the example is that we try to focus in, or my department is trying to focus in industrial processes, because we have realized that it's very hard to change this kind of environments, because you can imagine that, for example, let's say an energy plant or a nuclear plant, you cannot stop to produce energy, and you cannot power off an energy plant and change everything, because it is very hard to stop something and to start it again, because you have, for example, to wait until the power generator has reached the maximum capacity, and so on. And since this kind of environment is so hard to manage, I think that they still have a lot of work to do in terms of cybersecurity, and to improve all the security in every process that they have in their business.
And since you were speaking about processes, I'm wondering that I know something that is very important in the new trends after, well, I will say before COVID, this started in Europe and in the, let's say, North America. But now with COVID, it was a more movement to automation and development of software, let's say software robots, that before people didn't know what was, the robots could work even in the computers. Do you think that now we're more prone to have cybersecurity issues because of the development of new, let's call it robotics, let's call it software robots inside of the computers? And how do you think that companies need to deal with it?
I don't think it is a problem. I mean, like everything new is scary at the first moment, but for example, the robotics and the automation of processes, in some ways, it is helping the cybersecurity, because as we were discussing, that you can, the evil people is always faster than you, and I think that one of the trends in the cybersecurity area is to automatize every process in security, and maybe and why? Because you need to be faster to identify problems. You need to be faster to fix it, and you need to be always, even if you have the best professional in the world at your company, you can be sure that he will not be so fast than a threat. I mean, the threat agent, because and that's the reason of why the automation of processes could improve the security of some companies and so on. So I don't think it is a problem. The problem with robotics and this kind, not only robotics, but the industrial environments in general, the problem is that they are still landing how or trying to figure it out how security is applied to these elements like robots and so on. There is the research in these areas is still very early, or maybe and there is not a standard specifying how the security is applied to robots and so on. But some people like Dale Peterson or other professionals that I'm a really fan of these guys, are doing a great job like my manager, Andres de Benito. Andres de Benito is doing a great job to maybe to make companies understand that security needs to be applied also to this kind of new technology. So sorry to extend myself so much.
It's go as long as you want. Don't feel afraid of it.
Yeah. I think that you are touching a lot of interesting topics as you go. And I feel like you have mentioned the automation of security, and that's why I'm interested to what extent you can actually automate security testing. How much percent of it is manual? How much of it can be automated in some way, and what are actual approaches to automating security tests?
Yes, currently most of the security is done manually, I think, but there are companies that are trying to automatize all the processes, like, for example, the identification of new assets in your environment. Like, let's say that, for example, someone at your company installs a new PLC in your network, a PLC that you don't know what is doing really at your environment and so on. That's an example of how the automation of identification of assets could help to identify something new happening at your network and to identify what's the role of this thing, and maybe to warn or to alert or to generate an alert about how to manually identify, or maybe to go to the place and to identify what's happening with this device and why it's not, for example, included in some inventory and so on. But not only the identification, I think that the automation in the future will cover also let's say the management of these things. Like, okay, if we don't know what's going on with this device, the best thing that we could do is to partially disconnect this thing. And that's one of the aspects of the automation of the security in the future.
Okay, I think I would like to ask a follow-up question, because as you said, like if we go more with manual work, so manual workers do not scale as good as automated processes. So if you got more systems, more complex systems, it looks like for me that you need more of those people that are doing penetration testing. How actually do managers deal with such problems that they actually should scale those security testers with the size of the system?
That's a good question, and the problem is that I think that we lack a lot of professionals that are skilled, or maybe not skilled, but interested on cybersecurity. I have recently I was interviewing some people at using LinkedIn and so on, and I saw that, for example, we lack a lot of hacker girls in the community, and there are a lot of faces that are really good, but but I think that we have to give an opportunity to those people that are interested on this area, and to let them developing their skills and their interests on cybersecurity. I think that we will need a national plan to maybe to encourage to maybe to promote the number of cybersecurity professionals in the market, because I think that we have a serious problem, and this is something that it is increasing every year. Probably it's a good idea to invest on something that will affect the life of the people, I think.
And for example, going to that part, what will be the best way to get started, Adrian? Because I have seen a lot of like random ads, even in YouTube, about the cybersecurity university or things like that. But for example, I am a person that, as you, who have been working in the IT sector, and sometimes I don't know if I can trust in these things, because I can see, at least for me, I see it like a huge publicity, but I am not really convinced that the people who are selling us that are really in our area. And how can I get started? Like something that you can advise me. Maybe you know some real information, real website, maybe some university trainings.
Well, I think that the master degrees are becoming more and more common nowadays, and they are very useful to start with. But also there are good well-known certification, like the Certified Ethical Hacker certification, that it is an easy entry point to cybersecurity. And there are harder certifications like the OSCP from offensive security, that it is a really hard exam to pass. But anyways, if you want to specialize yourself in security, you don't need to have experience in penetration testing, because hacking is not only penetration testing. There is also, for example, security architects. There are also security in development, like for the term DevSecOps.
Yeah.
That's like security applied to development, but also to operations. Like these people that is playing with Puppet and with Ansible and so on. So I think that one thing that you can do is to use what you know, like for example in your case RPA processes, and to try to include some cybersecurity concepts into the field that you already know.
But Adrian, let's do a follow-up question. Let's suppose that I was like a new person, someone recently graduated from high school, and these are the people that I will say we would like to encourage to join us in the cybersecurity world. What will be your advice now that you are the experienced guy? Let's suppose you were speaking at 18 years old guy.
I will say what you love to do. What you love to do. If you, for example, if you love to communications and antennas and so on, I would recommend you to maybe to try to research and to buy your own software defined antenna, and to try at your home to listen to radio waves and so on, and maybe to understand how is it working. But if you want a general advice for any young student, I think that in general we can say that the very first thing that you can do is is maybe to start with the 35 ethical hacker certification, but again, I think that the best thing that you can do is to ask yourself what things would you like to be working with in the next 10 years, because it's a very important decision. And for example, maybe you are good at organizing people, so probably you need to specialize yourself at organizing cybersecurity teams or projects. So probably if you want to do that, there are also options to do that. So that's why I was thinking about, that cybersecurity is a very big field with a lot of things, and in your case, Federico, for example, if I knew you with 18 years, and I know that you for example worked a lot with electronic devices, so probably a good idea would be to maybe to go to implement something in security applied to operational environments, like, let's say, okay, let me understand how the Modbus protocol or other industrial protocols work, and I am going to make my own test, or maybe my own example in a small PCB card or so on.
Do you think that hacking conferences are getting more popular, and other good points to get an understanding of those topics?
Yes, of course. In Spain, for example, we have a good conference that it is the Rooted Con, and I'm part of the volunteers that organize this conference, and I'm sure that every year there is a lot of new people that is knowing about the security thanks to these kind of events, and it's becoming more popular every year, and it's helping to maybe to change the image or the perception of the hacking community, because hacking has been very linked to the criminal to bad guys in general. And I think that it is more close to the research and to research and development in general terms.
And what kind of, let's say, new information have you got in the conferences? Something that, let's say, you have seen is like life-changing, especially in the last 2 or 3 years?
In conferences? I don't know, because there are always a lot of amazing topics that nobody knows about everything. So in a conference, you are like a child in a toy shop. you will always find something that it is really interesting there. But in my case, for example, I enjoy the conferences about reverse engineering, like using the tool Radar 2, because these kind of conferences are full of hackers in the meaning of researching, because they try to analyze the code that it is being used by the processors, and they try to understand how a program works, and that's very useful for example, to analyze threats like malware, because you need to understand how the malware works in order to be able to remove the malware from somewhere. And that has become very popular in the case of ransomware, that that every ransomware that we find is very is evolving. Like they are very skilled. I mean, the bad hackers are very skilled to find new ways to deceive and to steal money from people, not only from people but also from companies. We know that there are a lot of companies that they are paying the rescue to recover the files and so on. So understand in this kind of conferences, for example, this topic is one of the most interesting thing that I'm very always happy to attend.
I think that we are also touching a lot of new technologies nowadays in a 21st century. Actually, it's 21st century right now. So how do you think about artificial intelligence, which is supposed to rise recently? How does it match up with security?
Well, I think that intelligent or artificial intelligence have some kind of magic behind the word, because after all they are algorithms, and still there is a lot of work that it is being done to increase and to maybe to enhance the part of intelligence behind that, because our computers are very smart, but after all they are computers. They still lack the enough capacities to be close to a human. So but anyways, I think that the concept behind intelligence is becoming more and more interesting, because of what I was discussing about before, that it was the automation of processes. So I think that it will be very essential in many areas of security.
And do you think that in the, let's say in the new, as you said about the algorithms that is related to machine learning or deep learning or computer vision, that are the topics about artificial intelligence, do people really invest in the part of security or more about the part of developing new algorithms? Because I think that, as you said, there should be some, let's say, collaboration among these areas, but sometimes I have seen mostly I want to develop more machine learning, a new algorithm to, let's call it a YOLO version 5, but I don't see the part of the security involved in this section. And this, as you explained before, in the part of medicine, it can impact our lives.
In the last 2 years, I saw a lot of companies investing, or not only investing, but also doing a great job at developing this particular area. For example, at Capgemini, in our architecture projects, we take very seriously this kind of new technologies that are being developed, because we know that the companies are doing a great effort to evolve and to increase the capacities of their tools. And this past week, I think, yes, this past week, we were with a partner discussing of a new product that they have developed, and it was very close to this, and that's why I think that they are doing a great job, and sometimes we are really amazed, because I think that I haven't seen so many advances in a so short term, because it's becoming, everything is changing now faster than I think that it was before, probably because of the coronavirus. I don't know. you know, the necessity of the need of teleworking and so on probably had something to do with this.
Yeah, I think also there's all of those topics somehow underneath touch the topic of data as the thing that is essential to running machine learning algorithms. Also, you're working in the communication company, you keep the data moving around the world. So how do you actually ensure the data privacy in what you are doing?
Data privacy. Well, things are good, things are bad. Like you know what happened with WhatsApp in the last review of the security policies and so on. Okay, they have to take care about not only about the how the privacy of the data is managed, but also about how people understand it, because you know that the new policy that from WhatsApp, for example, created a lot of confusion about between the users, and they started to use Telegram instead of WhatsApp because of this. So, or Signal in the case of Elon Musk, you know, you know that tweet and so on. So privacy is very, very important, because as it happens with the same of industrial environments. Okay, in industrial environments, something can explode and affect your life, but if the data is stolen, it can also impact in your daily life. Let's say that you don't want your bank account to be accessible by a lot of people because something happened in a payment system.
Because you spoke before about the assets, I was thinking, and do you think that the new, let's say, the new scope of building so many IoT devices can make the organizations less secure, and even not only the organization, even us? At least I don't have a smart bulbs, and I'm not really interested in those things. Even though I'm in IT, let's say, I am fine with a normal light bulb, but I have seen that there is a huge proliferation of anything that is an IoT thing. We have an IoT fridge, an IoT toilet, an IoT bathroom, IoT flip-flops. It's everything is an IoT that is tracking us. So I don't really believe that there is even privacy at a certain point, because even your toothbrush can be your next data provider.
But you know that when I talked about the operational environment, a lot of IoT devices are being incorporated there. And the problem is that, okay, this is not your toaster or maybe your fridge, but it is something that it is new in a new environment, like in a let's say an energy plant. You are using your IoT device, and how it affects the process of a big company and so on. So not only it not only affects an individual person, but also new big companies and new environments that are being deployed. And what happens with IoT? Well, I think that IoT it is not something new. It is okay. You have a new device that it is gathering a lot of information and using the different channels to share this information, but that happened in the past in many ways. So what we have to do is maybe to take the security of these things seriously, and not as an experimental thing that you are using at your home. You know, because sometimes companies, but also people buy these things and they say, okay, it's really cool. Yeah, I have something that speaks at my home, but okay, think about the security before using it. If it doesn't have a proper paper explaining the threats and the risks about using this kind of device at your home, don't use it. You need to ask for an explanation about how it could affect your life or your company.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I think that it is missing in a lot of products and a lot of things nowadays. I mean, for example, when you buy your toothbrush, as you told me, you receive a detailed or specific information about the security of this. Has anybody explained to you what's going on with this thing, or maybe if it is secure enough to use it, like the information that it is sending from one point to another point, you know what's really going on? Or...
Honestly, because I have avoided, I don't know, but I know some people that they bought them and they were like, yeah, but the thing is telling me how my teeth looks and things inside, but they never went into analyze, and that's why I was wondering that it can really introduce some security threats in the houses, especially if you buy something from a non, let's say, a random company that you have no idea because it's cheaper.
But it's a problem of culture, because there are things that are easier than that. For example, a lot of people do not take care about the security of the password of their personal email account. So when I met a girl a lot of time ago, that I told her, okay, you know that your password could have been stolen by a hacker, and she told me, so what? I don't have money at my bank account, so I don't care. So and you think about it, and one can think, okay, you do not have money right now, but what about in your next income, or maybe in the next 10 years, and you are not aware enough about the security of your privacy. So it is not a surprise that they do not care about the new products and the new IoT devices that they are bringing to their homes, because they think about the functionality before the security. But that's the point that we are trying to maybe to create awareness at the companies, but not only at the companies that sell the product, but also the companies that are using IoT devices in their environment. Okay, don't think only about the security, the data privacy, because if you have something with Bluetooth that it is gathering information and sending it to a cloud and so on, okay, review your security architecture and think about how if it really fits your needs.
How about passwords, actually? Because you mentioned about people not being able to store them securely. What's your approach to that?
To what? Sorry, we had.
Yes, sure. Let me go once more for that. Because you have mentioned that people are not putting too much attention to passwords. What's your approach to storing your passwords?
It's not only about the passwords, but it is awareness in general, and how it could be done. But maybe at the government, or maybe at a national, not only in terms of nation, but also in Europe or in the world, they have to do an effort to send a message and to maybe to let people know about security. For one good example could be to maybe to introduce security at high school, but not as a hacking subject, but as part of maybe ethics, or maybe that there are some classes that as part of the development tree of the high school.
But let's suppose that what is the way that you store the passwords? Because we tend to have several applications, several let's say accounts, even in the companies. And how do you generate secure passwords and remember them? Because imagine that I have 50 passwords, I might not forget them. That's why the people become lazier and start, my cat is cool, 1, 2, 3, my cat is cool, 4, 5, 6, my cat is cool, 7, 8, 9, and then they use more or less as
there are several options. You are right that it is not easy to generate and to remember all of them, and that's a concern in security, because some initiatives are trying maybe to replace the passwords by biometrics keys, or maybe using things like multi-factor authentication and so on. So the thing is, if it is really a problem, maybe there is a solution to, maybe there is a way to make it easier for everyone to not use this kind of things. But the problem is that it is not a concern for everyone. They do not only the people, but everyone. They do not care if a password is stolen. So if they do not care about that, why they are going to think about to replacing the passwords by other methods?
What do you think about standards in actually approaching to security for companies? Does something like that exist, and are companies are taking those things in practice?
New standards, like for example, which one?
I think that it would be better for you to give me some example, because I'm not the best person to provide any information about standards.
Well, I don't know if at my field, at operational environments, we are even developing new standards. Like I'm helping at national level by helping to define the new controls that will be enforced in the industry, and this, for example, this standard tries to get focus in the things that need to be covered in a short term. But in the other hand, we are also defining. We are trying to go farther and to go beyond of that, and to create standards like security by design and so on, that they will help in the future to make things, or maybe to make the security easier for every company and every environment.
But for example, do you know if let's suppose you're a small company or a medium-sized company, I know that there is one standard, is that the ISO 27000, that is one about security. Do you think that the companies, especially the smaller ones, take it seriously, or they just are reactive?
They try. I guess that they try to take it seriously, but the problem is how security nowadays it's an investment. And you know what happens with that? You do not see the return of the investment in a short term. You need to think about the long term and what happens if something, for example, at your company. Let me again to get back the operational and for example, I have been working in transport, in energy, or in oil and gas, in gas companies. These kind of companies, for example, they take it really seriously, because if something goes wrong, it can. I mean, independently the size of the company, because there are bigger companies, smaller companies. It doesn't matter. I mean, these kind of companies, for example, they take it seriously, because if something gets broken, it's very difficult to replace it, because if a power generator or a PLC or whatever it gets broken, it's very hard to replace it. And the point is that they are starting to take it seriously, even if they are a medium or smaller companies. And we are helping a lot of small and medium companies at Capgemini. So I think that they are they are increasing the awareness and the in security. I think so.
Okay.
And the example is that security is becoming a need in every day, and the need of new professionals is increasing every day.
I think I would like to ask about types of attacks. Actually, what are actually the ones that are currently the most harmful and the most common ones? And what do you think about the future of that? Is it going into any direction, or those will be more or less the same types?
I wrote a small article or column in a news, in a magazine that is going to be published in a few weeks, I think. And I explained that security will, or the threats are going to increase in number, but also in difficulty, because you have seen how a threat in a hospital can affect the health, can kill people. It can kill people. So the purpose of the new threats or the new attacks will be focused not to steal something or to create a damage in a thing, but to create panic. Okay, the really purpose of an attack, like for example what happened with SolarWinds and so on, it's not to steal something, but to create panic, to maybe to make a company to change the image of this company, and maybe to promote the idea that a technology or a company has become insecure or something like that. And it's going to imagine that you can create an attack for a huge area of companies, and maybe to change the perception of how the security is taken care in this kind of area. Maybe let's say, for example, in Spain with the tourism and the way that everything works in Spain. Imagine that you create the sensation that something is not working well at your country. probably your economy in your whole country will be affected.
And speaking about that, about the perception, what is the perception that you have about 5G? Personally, I don't have a bad opinion. I'm a software developer, and for me, this is not something magical. But I know that the COVID and those things have created panic in the people, as you said, because of these unnecessary things. Do you think that the, let's say, the faster, because the main thing about 5G is that we're going to have access to the things quicker and faster. Do you think this can create there will be more attacks to create panic against the technology, or it will affect the cybersecurity in certain way?
Yes. It will be faster and harder and wider. But it is not because I'm telling it. You can check the news every day, and you will see, or you will find a lot of new things that have happened every day. So, and the problem is that there are so many news that I think that people is getting used to it. You know, if you see at the news that Facebook or Google or whatever has been hacked, you think, okay, another again. So, but the problem is that it is not another hacking attempt. Is something that someday probably will affect to your personal life. So people is getting used it, but someday something wrong and really bad will happen. And that's the problem. You only have one shot, and it will happen for sure. You don't know, you cannot why it is like you know that there is a meteorite approaching the earth, and you think that most of the times it will not happen nothing, but someday will happen. And this thing, in this case, the meteorite is the hacking thing that will affect everyone, and it will be probably it will be irreversible. Irreversible. And that's the problem.
That sounds serious, like very serious, and I'm feeling like because we are facing a lot of speed increase, as you can see in 5G in telecommunication right now, and I'm thinking more about the broader perspective about the future, for example, 10, 15, or maybe even 50 years. Because I have heard about quantum computing, and this is something that will increase the speed once more, and the speed increase will be so huge that it can even kill all the passwords that are here. So what do you think about the threats that are going to be in the future? Which of them are actually the ones that you think that will be the major challenges that we are facing in cybersecurity?
But have you read about the new quantum network that has been developed in China recently?
Not yet. You can give me some information about that?
Yes. They are trying to deploy the same internet network that we are using, but using quantum links. And it seems that it have worked in a good way, and it includes some security, because you know that you cannot alter the state of the information in transit and so on. But, okay, that's really good, but the key concepts of security will be still there. I mean, you need to still protect the endpoint of a communication. You have to take care about the process of an industry. You have to take care about the individuals. So despite everything is evolving and there are new hype on new technologies and so on, the key concepts of security will be still there, and it will be necessary independently of everything.
And I have a question, like, because it's like how to keep ourselves secure. And something that I have seen a lot of ads is related to the VPNs. Do you really believe that these things are secure or they are giving you some protection? At least from my side, I don't feel it in that way, because in the moment that you log in a website, your information is immediately exposed to the users.
VPNs, like for example, those that you know.
Because there are two VPNs. The ones for the company that is to access the private services, but this is like a different story. But I mean that you go to the what to the to the ads in YouTube that you can download X VPN or Y VPN, and they will give you some security, avoiding the hackers and those things. I don't really believe that they give you that privacy, because I believe that if I log into YouTube or to Gmail or to Yahoo, immediately you are catch that something is different.
You call it a VPN, but you remember what happened with the proxies that were popular in the 90s, because a lot of people were using even chained proxies to connect in a secure way to a web page and so on. The concept is very similar in that there are proxies that they can use SSL to protect the information in transit and so on, but it happened the same. You can still have the information at the proxy server, or maybe to use a man in the middle attack to investigate, or maybe to research what your users are doing, or maybe how to inject commercials or banners or whatever in the content of the video that you are watching, and so on. So I think that if you try to use this kind of measures, if you try to use your own security, firstly you have to think 2 times about if the service that you are using is providing you the guarantee that your information is going to be processed in a good way. Like, well, the same happens with Google, or maybe WhatsApp. Okay, WhatsApp. They tell you that they are secure and that they protect the information between your phone and the servers and so on. Are you sure that the way that they are using the data it's processed in a good way and so on, and the privacy data, the privacy policy, it's what are you comfortable with it?
Yeah,
So you are using a VPN, but you are using privacy. You are using private services that they are still doing whatever they want with your data. Well,
yeah, that's true. But is it maybe possible to enforce the comfort by law, or this is not the good approach to go for?
I'm not a really friend of enforce things. I think that the way is not to enforce, but maybe to reach a middle point, and maybe to discuss with the companies which is the best way to provide that service with the maximum warranties, or maybe the maximum security or data security of the data, and maybe to discuss with them any kind of safeguard to protect the information of the people. But the companies also have to maybe to do an effort to not only to make it clear for the users, but maybe to be transparent, to explain how well they are protecting your information. Not only that they are doing it, but how well.
And as you said about that is you're not a huge fan about enforcement of the things. What is your perspective of the GDPR, their now Californian counterpart, and now that there is even a Brazilian counterpart, that this is getting more and more popular?
Yes, and it has it had so many good advances in terms of privacy and so on. And so, okay, I think that it is not right that it was an enforcement from one day to another. A lot of companies were aware that these kind of new rules were going to be applied, and I was even part of companies that were anticipating the new rules from many years ago, and once the rule was effective, they were already prepared to do it. So the point is that, for example, at Capgemini, we provide even services to maybe to transform or to adapt the company to this kind of standards. And the need becomes because of the digital transformation of business, of analogic business into the digital world. Like, I guess that you have heard about the digital transformation of companies, and that's for example is happening with the bank sector. That that they had a lot of offices in the streets, and they are changing it into a digital place where you don't need to go to maybe to check your account status. You don't need to go to the physical office to check something. You can do it by using your internet and so on. The same is happening with any kind of business nowadays, because thanks to internet and to the accessibility of everything.
I feel like this world of cybersecurity is moving very rapidly, and I'm interested what newsfeed actually would you recommend to keep up with the latest updates? Do you have anything that you are using as a source of information for the newest things that are being developed and created in cybersecurity field?
Any kind of source, like, well, I'm my colleagues and I, we are always in contact with the key persons in the cybersecurity areas. Like, for example, we are very close to Dale Peterson, to the people that it is working in some of our competitors like Dragos, but we are really fan of them, and we are happy to maybe to work with them in many projects, and we are happy to share our opinions and to contrast ideas and so on. And in this case, I think that sometimes the main source of security are the discussion of these new topics in conferences, in meetings, in groups. For example, yesterday we organized a meeting at Capgemini with our friend Jero and Williard. This meeting was, I think that there were like 100 persons in the conference, and it was a monthly meeting only. I mean, we were there 100 persons interested on industrial cybersecurity. And thanks to things like this, I think that we are up to date and we are doing a great job to implement new things and to develop faster and to research faster and so on. So sharing information and working with our colleagues is helping a lot to improve everything.
But maybe you can give us some websites, because sometimes we will go to Reddit, for example, or maybe we will go to a random place.
I prefer LinkedIn in my case. I try to share a lot of information in LinkedIn because well, in my case, from this group of 100 person that was in the meeting yesterday, they usually find the most interesting topics and the most they do the work of reviewing everything and to selecting the most interesting things, and by using LinkedIn and sharing the information there, then you are able to not do the effort of visiting like 100 web pages and Twitter accounts and so on. You have the interesting things that they are very close to you. I prefer LinkedIn in many ways.
Okay, I think that's a good point to start for me, because I'm like a person who has some idea about cybersecurity and but not too much information that can actually back up my knowledge. So yeah, I would definitely use this one.
But anyways, just every time that I publish an article in LinkedIn, I have like probably 300 or 400 of views for any article. So not so many likes, but like for views, like 300 or 400. So that's an example that things that are interesting for the rest of your colleagues, and it is working. So I invite you to follow my account, probably.
Yeah, and
Sorry for the spam.
No.
Yeah, I think that maybe you have some article about touching the topic of passwords. What do you think about the future of this thing? Are the algorithms that we have right now sufficient to face the challenges that we'll be facing soon?
Well, one of the measures that it is becoming more and more popular is the using of multi-factor authentication, and that's an example of how it will be evolved in the future. And you know what multi-factor means is that using like, okay, you have one thing to authenticate your identity, but you need a second one, like for example, let's say to your mobile phone, your maybe even as a token or whatever that lets you provide the that you are, or to prove your identity. And that's something that was not so popular 5 years or maybe 6 years ago, and nowadays we are using it in almost any service like Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, or wherever. So I don't know what will happen in 10 years, but everything is changing so fast that we cannot imagine yet what will happen in the future.
And so, since Genji started the part about the future, I would like that maybe we start going to more about the future and about your prophecies and predictions, Adrian, because in our show, we mainly want to help some predictions about the future. You said you might not have something about what will happen, but how do you see that the cybersecurity is going to evolve in the next 5 years? And how
Well,
it's going
that's
to
something
impact?
interesting. That's something interesting because you know that at Capgemini we are specialized in cloud computing, and that's something that it is still landing but it is becoming more and more and more popular because, I mean, it is still landing because we saw that in industrial environments, for example, they are starting to mix on-premise architectures with cloud architectures, because it has some advantage like not taking care about the maintenance of the network and the systems and so on. But obviously there are new challenges associated to this. So, for example, cloud computing is something that it is still landing, and we are not sure what will be the picture in a short term. But it's a good starting point for imagine the future, and maybe to do a forecasting about how everything will work in the future. But anyways, how will be the future? I don't know. Maybe full of automated things and doing a lot of automated thinking in our place, and I don't know. Maybe a lot of flying cars with artificial intelligence and doing the best thing for everyone. I don't know. But anyways, the security will always be there, and I'm happy to. I'm really happy. I'm very proud of this of my profession, because I think that we are a part of developing documents and so on, or doing vulnerability assessments or whatever. I think that we are doing a service for the people. I think so. We are doing a great job.
I think that I would like to ask probably the most difficult question, because you have mentioned so many topics. So I'm interested for the next future. What do you personally feel that can be a breakthrough, and you feel enthusiastic about it? It can actually happen very soon.
Sooner than what?
Maybe 2-3 years, up to 5 maybe. I can say that for me it's quite soon.
So, you know that sometimes predict the future is like having some magical powers that nobody have actually. So I don't know. I hope that the only thing that I feel that we will need in a short term, or I hope that the security in related to health, related to something that affects the life of the people, evolves faster than the threats, and I hope that nothing really bad will happen.
Thank you very much, Adrian, for giving us these valuable insights about cybersecurity, giving us some ideas on how to get started. And yeah, this is something very valuable for everyone. Do you have any final thoughts for the audience, Adrian?
No, I'd say it was a pleasure to be here, and obviously thank you for this opportunity. And anyway, so if you ever continue to, if you investigate about RPA processes and the security involved with it, I will be really happy to maybe to apport or to give my point of view in any topic that you consider. So thank you for, it's I always enjoy it, our discussions in the past when we were in Polonia, and I'm always happy to talk with you.
Thank you very much, Adrian. Thank you very much, Genji, for bringing the tough questions. And hopefully we'll see you soon in our next episode. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.